Hose, episode 73. My name is Bryce Oliveira. Your name is?
Kris Kolb.
And we are here in the Bolt Factory, ready for Bolts and Hose episode.
In beautiful Humble, Texas on a Friday afternoon. Beautiful day.
It's hot, man.
It's 85 degrees.
It's hot. It
like
feels
that.
hotter than that.
It's beautiful outside. Perfect.
I feel moist when I walk outside.
It's a weird word, isn't it?
Not really. I
Moist.
enjoy it. People get weirded out by it. I don't understand.
I don't like it.
Hey, can we take a vote in here? Is moist a weird word? Gross word? Everyone thinks it's a weird word. Okay. Yeah. You know, I was walking in the lunchroom, whatever you call it, and I asked one of the guys in the shop, I said, "You gonna watch the podcast today? We're getting ready to shoot the podcast." He's like, "No, I don't watch the podcast." I'm like, "Why don't you watch the podcast?" He says, "You're not funny enough." So we gotta be funnier, I guess.
I've got to agree with that.
Really? We're not funny enough?
I don't think so. I think we're funny in our own minds.
You're probably right.
For other people.
I think I'm funny, but probably to others, they don't think I'm funny.
I think you're funny, Bryce.
Funny looking.
You look funny. Yeah.
What are we sipping on today, Christopher?
We are sipping on a new beverage.
It's a good one.
This is an Old Forester, but it's not your typical Old Forester.
Bam.
Right?
Bada bing, bada boom.
It is the King Ranch from King Ranch Charred Barrels.
And where's King Ranch?
King Ranch is in Kingsville, Texas.
In Kingsville, Texas.
Right?
South Texas, right?
South Texas. But I think it's more than,
massive.
it's so big that
massive.
I think it's more than just Kingsville, Texas, right?
Yeah, it's
It
massive.
stretches across. It's like its own area.
Yeah, yep. And so they partnered up
The
with...
oldest ranch in Texas.
Yeah. They breed horses?
The oldest working cattle ranch in Texas. I think that's officially what it is.
And they breed horses. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do.
They've had 3 horses, I think, race in the Derby.
Yeah. It's like a major employer down there. I mean,
Yeah.
they hire crews of people just to maintain the land, take care of the livestock.
So Old Forester partnered up with them, and they use mesquite that they chop down. Is it mesquite?
Mesquite.
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 Go mesquite. So mesquite trees that they chop down and chart it, and then they kind of filter it through.
Are you making all that up?
No, it's for real.
Did you read this?
No, it's for real. They burn it and they filter the whiskey through the charred mesquite.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's not like a charred inside of a charred barrel.
They do use very charred barrels, but then at the end they filter it through charcoal, mesquite charcoal.
King Ranch mesquite trees.
Yeah. It's first time for you.
It is.
What do you think?
And I will agree. It's
Good stuff.
very good. It's a very good flavor.
A good friend of mine put this on. So I think they come out with this once a year. And they only sell it in Texas. How about that?
I like it.
It's a good one.
You told me about it, and then I went to the liquor store that night, and they happened to have 2 bottles.
And it wasn't that expensive. Normally you overpay for it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't bad.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Well,
Or do you want to go over?
This is election week, so we've got pre-voting.
Really? There's an election going on?
Early voting is this week. Actually, today is the last day for early voting. I think in Montgomery County. Harris, I think, goes a little further out. I think, right? Yeah, November 1st. Yeah. So
Let's better get on it. What is it in
I'm in
Missouri?
Montgomery County, so I went last night and voted.
We won't ask you who you voted for.
No, but I will
But I
say,
hope you made the
I'm
right
fairly
decision.
certain based on the demographics, I think I know which way Montgomery County is going.
You fit in.
Yeah, yeah. Bunch of rednecks like me.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
You consider yourself a redneck?
Yeah. Do you have any early,
You're the only redneck that drives a Cyber Beast.
but I've got other trucks though, you know,
That doesn't mean
that are
you're
a little more redneck. I'm a high-tech redneck.
A high-tech, yeah. You're a redneck with a Starlink.
Nothing wrong with that.
Said no redneck
You got to
ever.
change with the times, right? So otherwise the times will leave you in the behind.
I guess, man. I guess. Somewhere in the behind.
So yeah, have you voted? Any predictions about which way this thing's going to go?
Ooh. On the podcast, you're going to ask that question.
Come on.
You know, this is my true opinion.
We're all friends here, right?
I think it will be a fixed election, and we will see the blue wins.
Really?
I do.
What?
And I think it's going to go crazy. And I think,
Oh. little conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been listening to a lot of Joe Rogan, so everything's a conspiracy theory.
I don't think they're going to be able to swing it this time.
You don't think?
They're going to be able to influence it? They might try, and I think they will in some respects, but I don't think they're going to be able to move the needle much.
We shall see. We shall see. We got a big game tonight, so let's get off the politics.
Okay.
Big game tonight.
What game is tonight?
What?
No idea.
World Series, Game 1. Yankees, Dodgers.
See, I'm not following it all.
Okay.
NBA started this week.
Who?
NBA started this week.
What is that?
See?
Is that like a gun association?
That's irrelevant. I knew that, but that's irrelevant, right?
Chavez is probably the only person here, maybe Austin, that cares
The
about
Rockets
NBA.
played their first game on Wednesday. They got another game tonight.
Really? Did they win or lose
The
the first
Memphis
game?
Grizzlies tonight.
They win or lose? They lost? They're 0-1? Really, they blew it. Yikes. Ooh. Looks like another Houston team.
But you're right. That's the only stat I will know this season on basketball. I have
you're
no
done.
interest in following this at all.
And the Texans got the Colts. It's actually a pretty exciting weekend, man. I mean, there's some good stuff going on.
Yeah.
The World Series is crazy. LA, the East versus the West. Otani versus Judge.
That ought to be fun.
Yeah.
I guess we
It's
can
a big deal.
keep up with that.
Yeah, it's a fun. This is probably going to be the most watched World Series ever.
Yeah.
I would guess. You got, Otani's bringing in the whole Asian audience. And
Yeah.
it's going to be exciting.
I'll watch it from the ranch. We'll have a Starlink out there. Maybe I'll stream it out there.
Going to watch it from the back of your Cyber Beast
I could, yeah. You could.
with your Starlink
Yes.
and your Frunk.
We took it over to Baytown today. Took a good customer to lunch. So we got to run the Cyber Beast out there and show it off a little bit.
We got that thing moving too, boy.
We're picking up parts with it this week. We're doing a lot.
I think Chris pooped his pants a little bit.
Bryce did test out the top end, so we verified it. It will reach to the speeds.
It goes 130
Yeah, 130
and then it stops.
on the Beltway.
The governor.
Yeah, it was a little tense.
Yep. So let's get into some technical.
You want to do that first, and then we'll
Yeah.
finish with parts?
Yes. I
Okay.
think let's bore some people with thread lubricants.
I don't think this is a boring topic. I think
don't
there's
think
a
so?
lot of people that cover this, right? There's a lot of people that talk about it. out there.
It's a fun topic.
But it's always a good topic to go over, because I think if there's one thing that impacts flange assembly, it is bolt lubrication and K factors on flanges, right? And bolts.
K factor
So
is key, right?
it's less to do with the manufacturing, but from an assembly practice, we kind of have our trusty flange here, right? So we got a 4-inch 150 flange, and we don't have all the bolts in this thing, and it's a little bit of cutaway, but we've got this one bolted section here where we're going to demonstrate lubrication, how to properly lubricate the bolt.
Yep.
So it is just a variable or a multiplier in that equation. So when you're looking at all the science behind torquing a nut, and you're looking at the helical angle of the threads, and you're generating load by turning that nut, right?
Yep.
As you turn the nut, you're using that helical angle. It's pulling the bolt apart. It's creating load on the flange. You're going to generate friction in a lot of areas, right? So you want to minimize that friction as much as possible.
That's what I was about to ask. You want less friction.
You want less friction.
Right.
Because you get less friction, then
less load.
No matter how you're tightening this bolt, whether it be with a hand wrench, or you're using a torque wrench, or hydraulics, or pneumatics, or a rad gun, or however you do it, the friction is one of the most important variables. You want to minimize that as much as possible, because in doing that, you're going to get a consistent amount. So regardless of the accuracy between all those methods, first and foremost, you want consistency and predictability. And the one way to do that is to make sure all the bearing surfaces are lubricated, all the surfaces are in good condition, and that everything's the same between all the bolts. Because as you tighten this bolt, you want it to be the same as this bolt. And as long as you're doing that regardless of what method you're using, you're going to get a consistent value. Regardless again of the accuracy of that, you're going to get a consistent value across all 8 of these bolts.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep, I'm with you. I'm following you.
So the most important thing when you look at this is bearing surfaces. So when you look at let me just take this bolt out of this. you've got lots of bearing surfaces here. So a bearing surface can be considered, where the nut,
I'm gonna hold this.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
You can play.
where the nut rides up against the threads, the male and female threads. All of those surfaces, as they come in contact with each other, is a bearing surface, right?
Did
where
you say as the nut rides?
Yes, as the nut rides against
Okay.
that. Yes.
I just want to make sure.
And then as you look at the nut against the washer and the washer against the flange face, those are all bearing surfaces, right?
Correct, yep.
So there's a certain amount of surface area there.
Yep.
And you want that surface area to be in good condition. When you look at the backside of this flange, when you look at older flanges, you'll start to see a little pitting there, or you'll start to see galling where over time, the assembly and disassembly of that bolt will cause a little caved section there or a little pitted out section.
Yep.
That's going to cause friction, right?
Yep.
You want that surface to be
Flat.
smooth and very predictable so that every one of these is exactly the same. If you've got a worn flange face, it's best to use a washer on the back side of that, because that washer will create that consistent face,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So even if it is, not a perfect surface, the washer, a hardened washer like this F436 washer,
Yep.
is going to create that hard surface for it to ride on, and again, create that predictability.
There you go.
So key takeaways on this is the bearing surfaces on the threads, the bearing surfaces on the washers, or at least the turning section, and then the backside of the
back of the
flange,
nut.
right? So we actually have some lubricant here,
Right here.
right here. So we've got some thread lubricant. We've got some trusty nickel 328 Patriot bolt.
Patriot bolt branded, baby.
So we're gonna just do this. Let's just
Dude,
do
it's the
it,
messiest
right?
stuff ever.
It is. They say, there used to be a friend of mine who's still kicking it out there, bolting expert, Mr. Ed Heyman.
We had Ed on as a guest
He
on,
was,
on
yeah, a
past
while back.
episode 28.
He used to say, put this stuff on like you own stock in it, right? So you want to put it on very liberally.
I was going to say, like you
wanna
own
use
stock
this-
in it, so you want to use the daylight.
You want to use this whole can on one bolt.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wouldn't be very wise to do, because it's fairly expensive. But if you're going to lubricate this bolt, you're going to want to put the lubricant where the nut is going to ride, right? And you want to really coat this in so that all of the lubricant is all in the threads.
All up in it.
You want to get all up in there. So don't just coat the top. Don't just coat one side and think that when you assemble it on the nut's going to spread it around. That's not going to work, because you're really going to only get it on one side of the flange, and that's not good.
So do you
So-
ever lubricate the nut, or do you always just lubricate the stud?
You can, and it is a good practice to do the nut as well. My theory is, I think you would do just as well filling in the
really?
threads.
So you lube the nut.
You lube the nut, and you want the back side of the nut as well, because that's a bearing surface, right?
Yep,
That's going to be a
that's a good
turning
point.
section right there,
That's a good point.
right? So you want it on every surface that's going to turn, right?
Yep.
All right,
With you.
you got it.
With you. I'm holding the flange.
So we're gonna put this bad boy together, and some of this, like Bryce said, can be very messy, right? So you put your washer face on there.
So you wouldn't lubricate the stud like you put it through the bolt hole,
You
and
could,
then
you could
lubricate
do that. I did that just for the purposes
Just
of
for the
this. You put the
purposes.
bolt. That may be a cleaner way to do it, but a lot of times you're not going to have very good visibility in this thing, and if you're trying to do it in the flange, you're not
Yeah.
going to be able to see all the way
Sure.
around the bolt. If it's possible, you want to take that bolt out, lubricate it. That way you're 100% assured that you're going to get lubricant all in the threads and all on all of the bearing surfaces. So when you tighten this, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it very well, but once you tighten it up, you want that lubricant just to extrude
to kind of squirt out a
outside
little bit,
all of
right?
the bearing surfaces, because
Yeah.
once you've done that, once that's
Yeah,
happened,
you can see it.
that you've got lubricant all over the place
All
inside
up
that
in
thing.
it.
So, if you're trying to put it on, you're trying to for it to remain clean and not any excess lubrication.
Yeah,
You
it's
probably
wrong.
don't have enough on there.
Yeah, it's wrong. You
Right.
want to like when you tighten it, you want it to almost like a squirter washer. You want it to.
Exactly, almost like a squirter washer. Exactly.
Right
so
on.
you want it to squirt a little bit.
Yep.
So
Why are you giggling? What's so
no,
funny?
no reason at all. So the other thing that's not commonly discussed on this thing, and I think this is a very important point, is the solids content in a lubricant because this
Why does that matter?
This is a nickel lubricant, right?
Yep.
And other people will make a nickel lubricant, and if it's got a low solids content, and what I mean by that is when you look at the ingredients in this, it's basically nickel particles with oil or some type of volatile compound. So that oil is a low temperature material, right?
Yep.
Nickel is going to be used for high temperature.
Right.
So once we put this inside all those bearing surfaces, and once this thing heats to a high temperature, all of the oils are going to
Burn off.
They're going to burn off. They're going to dissipate. They're going to leave.
Yep.
So what's going to be left
Is a solid.
are the solids,
AKA
the
the
small nickel particles in that. And if you think about it, if you were to break this away, and once that oil is gone, you've got a very high concentration of those nickel particles that are acting as small little bearing surfaces all over all those surfaces. So you've still got something there that's going to prevent galling, and it's going to create a breakaway on the torque that's going to be very light. So it's going to protect all of your hardware.
Yep.
Contrary to that, if you were to use, let's say, a less expensive, a lesser quality lubricant,
A high
has
volume
a
of
lower
oil.
solids
Yeah.
and a higher oil content,
Yep.
you can imagine that in this scenario where when that oil burns off,
nothing
you've got
left.
a much more sparse scattering
Distribution.
of those particles around those bearing surfaces, so that when you go to break it away, you're much more likely to have metal-to-metal contact between the nut and the threads, between the washer face and the flange, and what's going to happen is you're going to promote galling.
Galling.
So,
And I've seen it sometimes where you have really high temperatures, it will actually weld itself together.
really?
Yeah. It's
I've
happened.
never seen that. I've seen the galling and the two metals coming together and creating that galling feature, but that's interesting too.
Because it gets so hot, and
Yeah.
they keep retorquing it down, and it just molds into one.
Yeah. So, point is, that is the important thing I think that a lot of people don't think about. The assembly practice is one thing, getting enough adequate lubrication, making sure all the surfaces are good. You got new studs, you got new nuts, you got new bearing surface on the backside of the flange, it's in good condition. All of those things are going to minimize your friction, but while the thing's in service, it's very important to use a lubricant that's got a high solids content.
High solids content.
Once that oil burns away, you're going to want the nickel and the moly, which is what you intend to put in there, to be left in there once it heats temperature. Because when you go back in a year and you try to break this away, if nothing is there, if you've got a small sprinkling of either moly or nickel or whatever the lubricant is, you're going to wish you had used a higher solids content to have those bearing particles in place.
Because typically you have to You're going to have to cut it off, right? You're going to have to get a hot...
Yeah, you'll
a hot
have to
permanent-
cut it off. You'll have to use a settling torch, or you'll have to use a nut splitter. I mean, there's all sorts of things that people use to get creative to break these things away. But if you use
Just
a
takes time and-
high quality lubricant, you'll be able to come in there with a hand wrench and break these things away.
Yep.
So
It's all about the solids, baby.
adequate lubrication, good surface finishes on all the components. You're going to get a much higher predictability and consistency among all of the bolts. And again, regardless of how you're torquing it, whether that's hand wrenches or torquing or rad guns or hydraulics or whatever, you're going to get a much more consistent, regardless of the level, either being over or under, that's a different subject altogether. You're going to get a more predictable and consistent load across all of the bolts. And that's what you want.
And a high solid content in your thread loop.
Yeah. Because even if you're a little bit high or a little bit low on the target value you're trying to achieve, consistency is much more important.
For sure. So, what do we got? Nickel 328?
Nickel 328 there. I didn't bring any of the moly.
And then
but
we have the
another
Moly
one
B.
that's Moly B.
In stock here at Patriot Bolt.
Yeah.
In stock.
Lots of it.
Lots of
So let me do a little close up of that proper lubrication. Can you see?
I mean, you can see it like it's coming out of that washer. The lube is coming out of the nuts behind the washer and exposing itself. You can see. I mean, it's messy too. I mean, you get that on your finger, man. It's not coming off.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough.
We're talking about the thread lubricant you use on a stud. I don't know where your mind goes.
That's enough.
This is education, man.
Okay, let's go over some parts, Mr. Oliveira.
Education here.
What do you think about
Education.
that? That's a good little technical segment.
Dude, I love talking
I
about...
think we've talked about
Yeah.
lubrication and friction factors before, but this is a live demo with an actual flange.
You
Right?
should like put it all over your face.
Little, I probably have it on my face anyway.
No, you don't. You're good. Parts of the week.
Let's do parts of the week, man.
You want to start off small?
Yes.
Dude.
That's all you got is small.
No, I got this bit. I got that
Oh,
bad boy behind
okay.
you.
Okay, we got some good stuff.
So I think we're starting off with the best then.
Mm-hmm.
The best part. So here we go. I know we've showed these before. I'm gonna get a little close so you can see it. So that, my friends, is the beginning of a rod end, an eye bolt,
An eye bolt.
right?
Yeah.
So you can see they round off the head, take round bar, they make a sphere basically on the top, turn it down, and then thread. And then here's the finished part. Check this bad boy out. I mean, that is a cool part.
Yeah,
know,
I think if you're not machining these things every day, people don't realize.
yeah, you forge them. I mean, that's the right way to do it,
how
right?
we make these things. But you know, if you need something special or something that you know is not going to be a high quantity that you're going to forge, you can machine them out of solid steel.
But
solid
here's the kicker.
stock.
Here's the kicker. Normally, we sell these things out of B7, sometimes 304, sometimes 316. What's
Yeah.
the material on this bad boy? Smell it.
That's 660.
Nope.
That's
You'll never
Inconel.
guess.
Inconel.
You said it earlier today when we were walking through the shop.
Monel.
K500.
Monel. There
Or
you
copper
go.
nickel. Mm-hmm. So that's made from copper nickel K500 round bar.
That's amazing.
Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy? What's the thread pitch? Or what's the size and thread pitch?
Is that 3/8/16?
3/16 is correct.
Look at
What's the
that.
length?
Oh gosh.
So you measure from the
Inch and
center,
3/4.
center of the eye.
2 inches.
2 inch, yeah. You've been practicing, man. You've been cheating. Isn't that cool? Man, that's a cool part. Again, let's show them side by side. So check that bad boy out. Start there.
It's a great part. How many pieces was that, Brian?
There's a lot of these pieces
Yeah.
out there, man. They had a full bucket. I didn't
Yeah.
even count. And I didn't look at the work.
That's a good order then, huh?
It
That's
should
not,
be.
that's not a cheap part.
I hope Austin didn't give us away.
Yeah. We're having a record month.
Are we?
A record month.
I had no idea.
We just finished a record quarter. This is going to be our largest month ever. We're real close. We're not there yet, but we still got
survived.
5
No,
days.
We killed it. Our largest intake. We've
That's
had
what I'm
the
talking
most
about.
intake ever.
Okay, I'm talking shipments.
We've surpassed, and
Yeah.
we're close to,
Right.
which we'll get there. There's
Yeah.
no problem.
Amazing.
Crazy.
Amazing.
It's crazy. So this is called a what?
That's going to be a jack bolt
A jack bolt.
with a dog point.
A jack bolt.
Look at there.
Look at there.
He's back.
He's back, baby.
He's back.
He's back, baby.
A jack bolt. So that's unthreaded at this point.
Correct. We still got to
Yep.
thread it. We still got to thread from here to here.
And are we going to round off the top of that and put a chamfer
So
on the top of that head?
there will be a little radius at the top of the head. That is correct. And then a little dog point at the end.
Yep.
This is
That's going to be B7
no.
or B16.
It is not. That's why the finish is a little rougher because they're going to thread it. It is actually 304.
I'd PMI that. That doesn't look like 304.
You smell that?
I don't
You
think
smell
that's
that chromium?
304. I would PMI that. You sure you didn't mess that up?
Yeah.
Are you
positive.
sure?
Yeah.
It's 304.
Positive.
Okay. Okay, I'll go with you.
So what do you think?
Okay.
It's a cool part.
It's a beautiful part. I love it. Yep. Very nice. Jack bolt. How many pieces were there?
I don't know. A couple hundred. No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
There was
Not a jack
like they had them in a bucket, and they were, I don't know. How many was the going to
Those jack
up
bolts.
north?
Those jack bolts with the dog point.
I think we got 2 orders on that. It's going up north,
Doesn't matter.
and I think
Doesn't
that was
matter.
B7.
Exactly. Yep. It looks like B7.
No,
There's
there-
no way that's stainless.
They are running jack bolts out there that are stainless.
Okay, that one's not
That
stainless.
one's not. I was just screwing with you there.
I know what this one is.
What is it?
This is an inch and a half. Or actually, it started out as inch and a half. Is it inch and 3/8?
I don't know. You
think
tell
it
me.
is.
You're supposed to know all
I think
this
it's inch
stuff.
and a half. We had to turn it down to inch and 3/8 because that was the one we were talking about. We couldn't find the inch and a half. But it's 660.
You're right, but wrong.
Okay.
This is still inch and a half. We didn't turn this one down.
You sure?
Positive.
It looks like we turned it down. When you look at that right there, we
No,
turned that down.
They just
You
took
know,
off.
when we
They
fact
took
check
off the
this,
mill finish.
I'm always right.
Austin,
I'm 100 for 100 here.
double ends, 24 and some change by 2.5 inch of threads on each end. We bought 1.5 bar and we're not turning it down because it's 1.5. They probably skim cut the.
We turn this down.
No, because there's a finish here, so there's a tolerance. No, we didn't turn it down. So I guess it depends on what you mean by turning it down. It's 1.5 bar and it's
You
still
were
1.5.
confident like 30 seconds ago. Now you're putting all these caveats in there. Oh, it depends
It's still
on what you
1.5.
mean.
There's a tolerance there, and I don't think you can use the bar finish. But they're not turning down 1 3/8.
Okay, I'm going to let you be right on this one.
It is. It is. That's still 1.5.
Either way, it's a beautiful part. I tell you, 660 makes a beautiful thread.
It does.
I mean, you know, when you're working with some of the lower alloys, B7, you'll get some kind of rougher surface finish. We didn't? Okay, all right.
But I think they did a skim pass. I think they did a skim pass on the OD.
Okay.
Because it does look like
But the
it's.
thread looks absolutely beautiful. It almost looks like a rolled thread, but I know it's not a rolled thread. But
That was done on the Landis.
I know. That's how some of those higher, harder alloys will look coming off the Landis.
The harder it is, the better the
It
threads
looks
look.
almost like machined. It looks beautiful.
So the softer it is, the threads look like not
Correct,
as
because
good.
it's like gummy.
Yeah.
Whereas this stuff is so
The
hard.
harder the threads.
Yeah, it'll come out looking beautiful. Almost like a mirror finish. It's amazing that it'll do that.
The peanut gallery gets verbal when we start talking about
You can't
harder the
understand what they're
threads.
saying. You can't understand Austin even when you're talking to him anyway. So.
Come on, Austin, come say hello. She said,
It's okay.
He got his feelings hurt that one time he came on
Okay.
here.
Really?
How y'all doing? I'm good. How are you? Sorry, it's a joke that never stops.
Okay.
All right, we're all
Wrapping it up.
You're all greasy and
It's okay.
lubed up
That's what I do.
on a Friday afternoon, baby.
Just another Friday for
Full
me.
of Old Forester and all lubed up.
Cheers, brother.
Here, here.
Have a great weekend.
Successful
Go
episode.
vote, Bryce.
Go vote.
I'm not sure what the rules are in your county, but
I don't
you
know.
need to go vote.
Go look in Brazos
What county are you in? Brazos?
Brazoria County.
Oh, Brazoria.
Brazoria
Okay,
County.
so
That's where
I
the.
bet that it's extended, so you got to go do that, man.
What'd you say?
There was somebody that said wise words yesterday. Go vote twice as hard, just in case the other side votes twice as much. Okay? So
How
gotta
do
go
you
that.
vote twice as hard?
Just go make an effort. Go stand in line. Go, wait in line. Do whatever you need to do. Just go. Do it. It's hard work, but go do it.
Okay. I'll
Right.
do it. I'm definitely voting.
Yeah. Vote twice as hard, just in case the other side votes twice as much.
It doesn't make any sense.
It makes perfect sense. Rachel, right? See? Look
She's
at that.
giving you a thumbs up because you signed her paycheck. That's the only reason.
I don't sign a paycheck.
All right. On that note,
All right.
peace in the Middle East.
Off to the ranch.
We're out. Adios. Thanks for watching. Like,
See ya.
comment, share.
Bowls and hose.
Post and hose. Episode 73.
73, man.
Not damn, you're getting old.